Broadcasting internationally, a digital repertoire of the world's latest, greatest images. Your digital art DJ is back. And I welcome you back, dear listener, dear viewer. Artist Journal, January 9th, 2023, Berlin. My name is Adrian Pocobelli, and I'll show you what turned my head. And first of all, just a big shout out to everybody for all the retweets and everything. Friday was kind of next level. It was a really, my phone kind of blew up a little bit. So I totally appreciate that, guys. I mean, it's been, like I was telling you in earlier episodes, we've kind of built this from 30, just a base of 30 subscribers since August, and kind of one by one. It's been kind of really fun to watch, and it just does basically keep growing every time you basically put out an episode. So anyways, and the only, marketing has been putting out a tweet on Twitter and saying, okay, this exists. And that's been it. So that's super cool. And anyways, it's really great. And the conversation is maybe my favorite part of this, of course. We're getting responses throughout this episode. You're going to see responses from the artists, which is super exciting and awesome. So the enthusiasm is contagious, my friends. Now, looking at this work here, this is Venta, and this definitely turned my head. So on the left, what we see here, and I think I brought this up bigger. So this is the left side. We see a Venta digital painting. Sampled brushes, it seems like, going on here. Also in the wood of the fire. I really like this fire, by the way, with the big chunky finger painting and then the thin, just a really nice fire, actually. And okay, so we see kind of I don't want to say typical, but a digital art painting, okay? A digital painting, okay? It is put into AI, as far as I understand, and processed. So again, you see how the composition is mirrored here, but on the right is the AI-treated version. So the implications of this are pretty kind of staggering in the sense that, so I assume this was uploaded on the left, and then a prompt was probably added. I think this is not Midjourney. I think this is probably something like Stable Diffusion. I am still learning all this stuff. I'm still on Midjourney, and so uploading stuff, I don't think it's as close on Midjourney. I don't think they stay as close. And they had some reasons. I was looking in the user guide because I think they don't want to put people's faces on other things and whatever. So I think this is probably Stable Diffusion, but correct me if I'm wrong out there. I am very new to AI still. And you see the tree. So you could have a kid's drawing, you put in a prompt, and the kid can put in a prompt at grade 2 and come out with some pretty interesting art. Sometimes they kind of raise the profile of 7-year-old painters, and you go, oh, there are some nice paintings, but you sort of go, okay, but whatever. In the future, with AI, even today, potentially you could have a kid's drawing on the left, and then with a few prompts, you could have a 12-year-old that could put together some pretty amazing work, and they have the time. They have the time. So anyways, this turned my head. Look at the clouds, right? So, and how many different versions of this could you make, And then I would always be like, okay, I'll put these all as layers in Photoshop and take my favorite parts of each. So very, very interesting. Only one retweet on that, but that to me was a big head turner. Just a very big head turner. And I brought this up as well. It kind of reminds me of Venta's work. Let me just show you in the AI. These kind of arms and the kind of corporeal, the crepuscular, or however you want to put that, the volumetric, arms, sculptural. You see there's almost drop shadows here on the sky, as if this is Play-Doh that's put onto a board here. It kind of reminds me just these arms and legs that kind of don't amount to an actual body. It reminds me of this Dali piece, Soft Construction with Boiled Beans. And so we like the art history here. So, and it's kind of been lurking in the back of my head as I've been looking at Venta's work. So finally, I thought I'd bring this up. So don't alert too long. But then I saw this. Then I saw this guy, and I was like, hey, that's the guy from The Pharmacist of Amsterdam Seeking Absolutely Nothing. See this? That guy? This is one of my favorite paintings, by the way. The chemist, another kind of title is like the chemist from Amsterdam who's looking for absolutely nothing at all. I've shown this work like maybe 50 episodes ago. And anyway, that guy, you can see a crow has landed on my balcony. That guy is here. So there you go. And so anyways, yeah, that's what that Venta work has been reminding me of. So I finally put it in there. A big shout out to Hasdrubal Waffle, whose work I am just becoming a mega fan of. And he did this, I mean, who would have expected this? Post alley-oop, thank you for the support and kindness, basketball Pocobelli alley-oop. So this is me, and so thank you, Hasdrubal Waffle. Look at the textures and all this. Look at the, the dots and everything. And when I first looked at Hasdrubal Waffle's work, I thought that was kind of like lo-fi. Like I didn't get it, and here just, and now I just go, this is so rich, this work. And so I'm just a huge fan. I can't believe it. Okay. I didn't expect it. And look at the pathos here too. And there's Hasdrubal. The basketball, it's a beautiful composition. It's just even the lines on the wood of the court. So just an awesome work. So thank you for that. Just amazing. A one of one. And a beautiful work by HQ. So back to this idea, back to this idea though of, I guess this is like an uploaded image with, maybe it's sampled from video. Like, I don't know, maybe it's a screenshot. I don't know how they do this. But like the way that the eyes are looking directly at the viewer, I'm kind of stunned. I don't think I have a photo that's this good of me in terms of kind of capturing me in this kind of, if I was a senator or something. I don't think I have a photo that would do justice to like if I became like a major government official. But I think HQ here is approaching that. You know what I mean? Like it looks like a beautiful 18th century portrait and then he puts my face on it. I'm stunned because I see like portraiture here. I see like an avenue for portraiture. So thank you to HQ, Adriano Pocobelli di Firenze, musician, painter, and patron of the arts. So very cool. Another one of one. So thank you to HQ. And finally, one more. Polly Jojo. So again, the reaction is like awesome, guys. I appreciate it, and it's super cool. And that's like great work. Again, I look at this and I go, I don't know if I have a picture that's that good of me. That kind of captures a meditative, almost like a religious, monk-like figure here. And it almost looks like a Saint Anthony or something. So anyways, AI and Photoshop. So I don't know how you guys are doing it, but I see like a portraiture business. I love even like the bags under the eyes. That's me. It's a genetic situation. My aunt in Rome always wears sunglasses. It's hilarious, even inside. So anyways, this is something else. First, the tribute is awesome. The technical business, though, is, again, head-turning for me. I don't know how this is possible, but I think there's a business here, interestingly. Maybe it's easy. I don't know. So anyways, thank you to Uxine, who picked up Ravers on secondary for 75 Tezos, a nice price there. So thank you for that. Just a pixel art sketchbook work. And here's some more sketching, having a ton of fun here. And the 808 sketching over here. Thank you to all the collectors here who collected. Makes my day. So thank you. And finally, Trueface here. So we were talking, okay, and this leads into a major correction I need to make. But the correction, I got some stuff right here, which is good. Trueface. Love this guy and his very accurate observations about my new artistic name, about titles of my artwork. So remember I was saying it's probably made by AI. Like Trueface's name, the title of the work. Anthropology of Love, which was, I believe it was called, about the diffuse texture of my outputs. You are more than approved by an AI OG like me, and I'm glad to know your ideas and personas. So very nice. Again, the reaction was off the charts in the last couple of days. So you guys make me feel really great and special. So thank you for that. As an artist, as we all know, it's not easy. And as I've said in the past, it's 98% rejection being an artist. So this means a lot, especially from artists. Like that kind of, for me, is the real exciting thing. Now, I did make a huge mistake, though, in the Michelangelo work. So remember, remember I was saying that this is Michelangelo? This is not a self-portrait of Michelangelo. This is the damned man. As soon as I finished last episode, I was like, wait a second. I think I got... This is the self-portrait, and I'll show you Michelangelo in a second. So this is St. Bartholomew, and he was flayed, basically skinned alive, and that is how he was martyred, according to the story. And then the flayed skin that he's holding the knife here, and again, this is Michelangelo's last judgment in the Vatican, in the Sistine Chapel. And so this here is the portrait of Michelangelo, and I'll show you the portrait. So here's Michelangelo. I assume he did this. I'm not sure who did this portrait here. But so you can kind of see mostly in the hair. So I think this is a theory. Okay, so I just want to correct that. So this here is, people think is maybe there. So you can judge for yourself. There are the two images for you. And this guy is the damned man, and is known as the damned man, and you can see being kind of whisked off by these two demons here, terrified. So anyways, just want to make that quick correction here. And yes, the damned man. And so anyways, I'm glad I got the AI stuff right, though, Trueface. Thanks for the comments. That was totally awesome. So regarding the open editions and the royalties, remember I was talking about OpenSea, Charles AI wasn't getting the royalties. Austin Lawrence, does the option in Manifold for OpenSea need to be activated if you deployed the contract before January 2nd, 2023 cutoff? So I thought this was an excellent question, and I don't know the answer to it. What Austin is asking, remember I was showing in the last episode when you're in Manifold.xyz's contract that you have to turn on the OpenSea royalty thing in order to ensure you get the royalties. And Austin is asking, very interestingly, it didn't occur to me, does that need to be turned on before January 2nd to basically be activated in the deployed before, in the contract? I don't know the answer to that question. My assumption is in Manifold, if I can turn it on, that from there on in, I assume I can leave it on. Like if they're going to give me the option of turning it on at this point, even though it's already after January 2nd, then I assume it'll work. That would be my answer, but I thought that was a really good question. Does it need to be activated before January 2nd to even work? I assume if we turn it on now, if it's still available as an option, it must still be available. There's a bit of debate on open editions right now. And that kind of came up in our Twitter spaces actually last week. And Joe Rogan's dad was talking about it, and he's actually going to be in the Twitter spaces coming up here. This is Art Pleb. I think open editions are cool consumption items. Open editions from top artists will be a signal of, quote, I was there when, like having a demo tape of Pearl Jam before they made it. Yes, I know I'm old. Having one is cool. Having a dozen is less cool because you clearly don't care and just want to flip. So anyways, I think there's been, to me, the takeaway is the open edition thing. I mean, I felt like I was jumping on the bandwagon when I put it out, but I thought, if not now, you're never going to do it. So I put one out, but it did feel like a bandwagon thing. But I think it's great. Again, if you don't overthink it, I think it's awesome. So anyways, I think what this tells me is maybe the open edition trend is starting to crest a little bit. And Charles AI also brought up some interesting comments, just saying, if you're to do this like every week or every month, is it too much? And he seemed to be suggesting it was. Final kind of little news item here. Excited to have been listed in Worlds, Foundation's new tool for curation. So this is Georgina Hooper, who's on Super Rare. It's an honor to be selected by Somewhere Art for their leading curation Art Times Machine. So I guess the point of this that I wanted to share with you is Foundation has a curation tool. So this is interesting because Object has kind of not, I think it was either Bazaya or Purple Drank was saying like, where's our curation tool? And I was mentioning that as well on a previous show, like it would be nice to be able to curate on Object. And right now, I don't know if it's a possibility, and it should be. So anyways, it looks like on Foundation you can curate. So just kind of a heads up there. And a quick update on Uxine's market here. We were looking last episode, is this the big throwdown? And so it's been a busy weekend. Like here's your update. Let's just do a quick refresh. Yeah, like this just sold in the last 18 minutes for 600, which is actually pretty cheap, as you're going to see here for edition of 11 here. Jailbreaker sold for 600. These editions of like 321 selling for 60, 23 old ones selling for 149. Edition of 111 selling for 100. But let me get to the, bigger sales here. I mean, there are so many sales. Look, 888. This is 14. Like this is just 14 hours ago, and we've gone through this many sales. There has been 450 for 1,000, and there was another one for 1,000 for 690 for edition of 10. So here's another one for 1,000, and there was actually look at this. This is all in the last. This is still not even 24 hours ago. Here's another one for 1,000, edition of 10. So anyways, or edition of 20. So, I mean, that market. So again, just kind of interesting. Is this the big throwdown? The question remains, it hasn't been disproven yet. So interesting. Okay, so we're about to look at Hasdrubal Waffle. And I dug up this comment from Santiago about a month ago on the channel here. And I was talking about Hasdrubal Waffle, and he said, Hasdrubal Waffle is my favorite artist in the whole NFT scene, including any chain or any kind of art. And when I first saw that, I thought, as I said on the show, I was like, I never would have expected that. I'm starting to understand, though. Like when I see the textures and everything that's going on in there, the fun, the experimentation, now I understand where you're coming from, Santiago. Like, yeah, it's an acquired taste, and it takes time, as you said in that tweet as well. Like it's in that you recently released. So anyways, now I'm starting to understand. And here's a recent piece, Doppelganger by Hasdrubal Waffle, Mario Paint homage to Object 546365. So we're going to look at that. Actually, maybe I'll bring it up right now. So here's the original that it's based on. This is by an artist called BB. And this is a physical work, acrylic, China marker. So interesting to use this as a subject. And so he did this in Mario Paint. And so anyways, just, beautiful work as ever here. Again, you look at the textures. I think it's the textures that really do me in, but it's also just like, there's just something kind of really free and nice about it. And these nice little frames, you can go on and on. You can decide for yourself how you feel about it. But I thought a very, very nice homage here to BB in this work here by Hasdrubal Waffle. And here's some more work by BB, who I've never seen before this weekend, before The Chef came out. So anyways, interesting artist. And this is also by BB, which is a GIF. And this is called Torture Chamber. So just kind of, I don't know who these artists are, but that's why it's fun when you find kind of a unique artist like Hasdrubal Waffle. Then you go through, okay, that's the guy he's referencing. Let's look at his collection. Interesting work here. And interesting title, Torture Chamber, instrumental for a silent GIF, okay? So interesting people, sold for 20 cents for a one of one in March, okay? So we are finding new undiscovered countries here on Object. Hasdrubal Waffle, another one, Peekaboo, and edition of 5. And so I don't know if this is using Microsoft Paint, Super Mario Paint or something else. But again, you just see the wild experimentation here. like the fuzzy, hand, fingernails on the hand and on, the texture, the crazy texture, brushes which might be thought of as ugly, but then embraced and celebrated and not worrying too much about it looking too real. The freedom, it reminds me of kind of like Warhol, where it just looked kind of effortless, and that's what these works are. They just look effortless, peekaboo. It's like, oh, it's just a stick figure. Anybody could do that, but there's something about it. Another comment by Santiago, those are important artists making NFTs today according to a 2600 mindset, to a year 2600 mindset. There are important artists making NFTs today according to a year 2600 mindset. I agree. That's partly why I do this show. Again, this is evergreen content in my universe. This is there's so much to track here that it's exciting to just discuss. If I didn't think that, I wouldn't do this, because why would you do that? So I agree entirely. Sabato, so remember this horse here, and we were mentioning Etienne Jules Marais, the guy who did the chronophotography here. Actually, Sabato says it very nice. Thanks for the shout out, the drawing on today's Artist Journal. He brought up Etienne Jules Marais' chronophotography of a horse in motion, this one from 1886, and this was definitely on my mind when drawing. So there it is. So exactly, that was the first thing I thought when I saw this was, so that's cool, right? Sabato is referencing art history, and read his write-up. It's fascinating, actually, and he's got a lot to say here. And he also brings up another guy whose name I was trying to remember, Edward Muybridge, who did the horses in motion. I think this is actually who I was thinking about originally. And then I brought up Etienne Jules Marais. They're kind of often spoken of in the same conversation, these two photographers. And so anyways, Edward Muybridge and Etienne Jules Marais were the inspirations here. And here's a really nice kind of progress shot of just the outline of the horse. So very cool. So thanks for describing that, Sabato. That's super interesting. Look at this work by Spagels Meskinen as we go into more work here. I think this was retweeted by Sabato. Last Exit and kind of a wild billboard. This sold really nicely for an ETH on Ethereum here on Foundation. So Last Exit, and let's just see how this went. There was a buy now price, which was interesting. And so that it was set at 7:12, listed 2 minutes later, and then bought at 7:20. 6 minutes later, it was bought for an ETH. So pretty interesting. So anyways, just a nice sale there. A new commercial from one of our favorites, Kurt Hustle Collective, available for 0.97 ETH. Let's just see if we can get this going here. Let me just reload and get some volume. And here is a GIF by Kurt Hustle Collective, also came out at the same time, 1-900-1997-900, and we'll get back to the video as soon as it loads here. Let us see, here we go. Okay, there we go. So all the humor.
1997-900, and give your passion now.
So I just love their commercials and the phone.
Just 97 cents the first minute.
So anyways,
97 cents each additional minute.
Totally awesome. I think it's about 30 seconds there. So you got a nice chunk of it. Buy for basically an ETH, buy for 0.97 ETH on Foundation. And of course, as I was showing you here, there's a GIF that also came out, 1-900-1997-900 KHC calling card. Got your calling card. So anyways, always fun. For those big time callers that live on the line, New work by Popple is part of his kind of monster series, and he actually had some interesting things to say about that as well. Heart of Sewer, and he has some writing here. The heart of sewer beats beneath the ground, a steady pulsing sound, a sound of rotten decay, a sound that will forever stay. So Popple is also a writer, as we know, and has a bit of an alien feel, like the original Aliens film feel. Like it's pretty cool, kind of dark, kind of gothic pixel art almost, for lack of a better term, kind of dark sci-fi, interesting greens there too, and there's the heart. And so edition of 25 sold out. Yeah, you see, even he's calling it gothic too. Buy for 120 on secondary, part of the Sanitarium series. And he also actually had some interesting things to say. It's a new series, was in a cabin in the woods for a week during the Christmas holiday, stranded with a 10-year-old that heats and a computer that heats like an electric stove. And I started to doodle a series of weird beings, going to bring them on screen one by one. So there was the other one that we're looking at last episode. So very interesting, and thank you for sharing that. Popple, looking great. So original, right? Cap'n with a new work, edition of 20. This was just released yesterday, I believe. Kind of an interesting, another just kind of interesting, I don't know if this is part of the Astral Hazers series, just more like, again, it's this idea of pixel art as high art. This is called Shine Until the Two Become One, Astral Hazers by Cap'n. Buy for 12. Let's just see what it went for originally, $333. So Popple got the last one. So a nice small community here, as you can see. For those that, so the guy who we're just looking at, he picked up this work, right? For those that are maybe new to Object and Tezos, you can see how tightly knit of a community it is. So if you're looking to join, it's open to everybody. And even Foundation, you don't need an invite anymore, and that's on Ethereum. So anyways, the green pastures are still here. Ed Marola with an interesting work, platform number 2, in his signature colors. And again, we're looking at more kind of experimental pixel art, right? So kind of like, well, I don't know if they are kind of like vaporwave colors, aren't they? But this doesn't look like a vapor, that's his palette, Ed Marola. So anyways, it looks like a tree on a platform, very mysterious work here. And then the rail goes down, kind of goes off out of space, and then kind of becomes part of this abstraction on top, right? So as I keep saying, find pixel art that does these kind of crazy experimentations anywhere else. And soon you'll be thinking, oh, pixel art as high art is to be found mostly on Object, but other places too. Bite by Bit with some beautiful nebulas here. I missed this one, but I love the kind of spreading here of the stars, and even just the almost looking like a canvas of the background shining through here, the white and gray. But I guess that's just the color. Bite by Bit, Cigar Galaxy. I think that one's pretty famous. And Andromeda. This was a quite nice one too, and with a nice star. So anyways, just some updates from Bite by Bit. And one more, I picked this one up, Cartwheel Galaxy. So I liked how there's a lot of stuff going on in this one. So just interesting pixel art here. And Ilay with some more experimentations with the ASCII, and she's making progress on a daily basis here, as you can see. So this is ASCII Vanitas Tulips, original AI image and art generator times Connect Zapata. So if I understand that right, there's an AI image. So this is kind of like what we saw at the beginning in reverse, because we had a drawing that was turned into AI by Vanya. Now it looks like we have an AI image that's being put into an ASCII processor, mixed with Connect Zapata somehow. So I'm not exactly sure what's going on here, but it's looking good, isn't it? I'm quite enjoying these ASCII works here. Actually, and there was another one in there. look at this. And so this is using a different font, a different script. So very interesting, isn't it? And here's Vanitas Tulips 2. So I assume using the same process. Here's kind of a more simple, kind of in the style of Dan Control a little bit. And then here, kind of its own thing, Tulips 2. So anyways, super interesting. I was quite, especially this guy here. So anyways, all of them, very interesting. This was found by Eile. She just posted this morning. 2nd Street, Newtown. I thought it was just kind of interesting. 128 animated frames. I'd never seen the artist before. NFT noob. And let's just make that big. Almost looks like Super Mario type clouds and some kind of game that you've never seen before. Pixel art, Sprite, animated. And here's the artist, who I've never seen before. Give them a follow. Kind of reminds me of Ed Marola here in the figures. So just experimenting with pixel art. Continuing on, here's an artist that I followed for a long time that just had kind of interesting abstract kind of shapes and stuff. And Hagluk, and they put out a couple of new pieces. Pretty undiscovered, I think. Editions of 15, 14 available. So they've sold one. So anyways, interesting work, and I think I have another one. For 1 Tezos. Yeah, so there's tons left here. I thought pretty interesting. Unsplace, floating in the distance. So just playing with these kind of architectural cube spaces. It's a bit of a motif that we see in a few artists here. These kind of like aerial, kind of 45-degree angle view on what looks like architectural, whether it's a city block or something like that. Pretty interesting glitch work here. This is by Essim. And I think I've seen Essim on Twitter. So anyways, I thought this was a pretty interesting kind of animated abstract work. At auction for 88. It's a 1 of 1, so it's doing well. I think, it's getting, like, it's pretty attractive. Smonter, who has these kind of odd sci-fi drawings, and here's another one. And what was the title of this again? Boy on his break. A boy enjoying his break from work in a space city. Life in space can be hectic at times. So I just thought a very original work here. The boy is in green, and there you see kind of like a Magnus robot fighter sci-fi world with, spaceships instead of cars. And anyway, I just thought like a lot of decisions here with the red and the orange and the warm in the background with the green boy and even the interesting clothing. Interesting piece. Buy for a Tezos 50, edition of 10. 9 left. Okay, so it's more undiscovered work. And actually, I picked this up for 2 from Nature, from Gino probably. And I thought this was a very fun take on a farmer's field. And so anyways, nice work from Gino, available for 2. I think it sold out. Yeah, so maybe he kept one. Yeah, so edition of 3. You gotta love it. Edition of 3 for 2 Tezos. I thought this was just kind of an interesting work that I also saw, kind of more in an abstract, illustrated sort of genre, shall we say. Insel by Lollygag Design, or Insel is the name of the artist. 102, collected by Andrea Litmus on Form Function. Thank you for collecting. So this was on Form Function, which is Solana, a 1 of 1 platform on Solana. Interesting abstraction there. Back to Santiago, so kind of showing a progress shot, and he uses GIMP, which I find really interesting because I tried to use GIMP. It's basically a free Photoshop from what I understand. And when I got a new computer a few years ago, and I found it very hard to use because I'm probably just used to Photoshop, but Santiago uses it quite a bit, I think. And so anyways, some pretty interesting experimentation here. You kind of get a feel. You see like these pixels that look like they're being transformed here. So anyways, just interesting, kind of see a work in progress. And you see almost here like these little pattern things maybe are being used. So anyways, pretty interesting. Kind of could show in the same room an artist I'd never seen before, NZFS. Kind of reminds me of some of the abstract works that we've seen, the digital abstract works, but kind of pixelated. So just kind of interesting. And I think I brought up their page here. I did. Yeah, so it's not the first one they've made here. They have quite a few in this spirit. So anyways, media artist from Buenos Aires. And we are cruising through this episode. A couple more from Human Kernel, which again was a Hasdrubal Waffle discovery for me, going through his collection in this anti-profile picture project collection. And speaking through vibrations, yo, said I, and I replied a similar thought. Human Kernel. So anyways, so here's another PFP, anti-PFP. Interesting, even just the experimentation here, again, kind of along the lines of polka, Sigmar polka in my universe, where you basically put mark making underneath, and then on top, you put a completely different mark making that basically ignores the lines underneath. And then you get this kind of poetry here. So here, maybe there's trees in the outline, but you just put the color, So again, feels like a bit of a polka, even the mouth. And it's kind of, I call it instant poetry when you do that, kind of random mark making underneath, and then you put stuff on top that's random. You put them on, that's why you can take layers from one file. I'll do this once in a while, and then put them on a completely different file, and you start to see poetry oftentimes. So speaking through vibrations, and we have another one, again, in kind of a completely different style. So you see the experimentation here. Water and voices wake everyone. Almost looks religious with this, almost looks like a Mary Magdalene, but a dude. And here we have kind of a, oil painterly kind of look, but looks like digital oil paint. Again, contrasted with this super digital outlines here and a gradient and some pixelation. So I'm really enjoying this kind of corner of Tezos that I'm discovering through kind of Hasdrubal Waffle over here. So it's, some very rich stuff. A nice addition to the Failed Artist series, number 13, Self-Portrait, The Garden of 14 Paths. This is by Treza Rodanks. And here he has the path that faces all of us artists, which is go the route that society wants us to go and be successful, or go the route pursuing your obsessions and you end up with fries on your head and a bottle of whiskey, let's say, and a hot dog and a cigarette and a cast. So I really like this series. Buy for 3 Tezos, still available. I just picked one up. Board Me Social Club with some new ones. Waiting Room. This is from the Blue Notebook. And just another interesting painting, an old school rotary phone. You see what looks like a Jason mask, like a Halloween mask here. Again, these kind of, disorienting floors, right? Because the perspective is backwards, and we're seeing this isn't an accident. We've seen this many times with Board Me Social Club, and it really creates an effect. I think it's really interesting. And frankly, I've never seen that in painting where people are purposefully doing the opposite perspective. Very disorienting, so super interesting. This is also a very interesting texture here of this wall. Kind of got a surrealist feel to it. And again, this strange figure here with the dead hands and the modern shoes and everything and the weird kind of hood. The shadow of the chair, the bananas. It has definitely a surrealist feeling to it. Even the shadows, the psychological shadows. And what's this other shadow here? So continues to be very interesting. Waiting Room, buy for 5. Still available, edition of 20. Here's another artist who just started on Super Rare. My first artwork for Super Rare Musmin, and this is Grigala. And I've never seen Grigala before, and it looked pretty interesting to me. And so here it is on Super Rare. And you see basically it's pretty painterly here. I assume digital. It looks like it's a digital original, definitely. And this went for 0.3, so a nice beginning here. And as you can see, there's a bit of a bidding war. Like I wonder, they put it for 0.1, and then basically there was a bidding war all the way to 0.32. So isn't that interesting? Like, I think a lot of people out there are feeling like they're getting art cheap right now. Like, you definitely feel this on Tezos, right? And Tezos has gone up to like 84 cents. So it's not quite the deal it was when it was 70 cents. So I think, if you're getting one of ones on Super Rare for $400, that's not a bad deal, especially for a Genesis work If you have a lot of money and you're big in crypto, you go, oh, why not? For 0.3, I have, a whole bunch of Ethereum. Why not? It's probably, a good investment. Another Santiago is sort of sprinkled throughout the show here. Time and the Pleasure of Mistake, painting made with AI tools and GIMP, as we were just looking at GIMP there, by Santiago. So combining AI, so Santiago is using AI and combining it with GIMP. So just an interesting result here. A 1 of 1, and was it sold? Yeah, for 155. So that is pretty nice. Again, these 1 of 1s are very desirable. When you're collecting and it's a 1 of 1, it's like there's only one. And so to state the obvious here, sometimes you can make more with a 1 of 1 than an edition, depending on, so it's always something to think about. Because if he had put out an edition of 15 at 7, what would he have gotten here? 105? And here's someone just offered 155. So, see what I'm saying? So this beautiful work here, another really cheap price here for this beautiful Venta work. And we looked at this before. Again, this has kind of real gallery vibes, contemporary art gallery vibes, where I think if, the gallery down the street here in Berlin, those, trendy galleries, I think they'd be more than happy to have this work up in their gallery and sold for a song. Their first work on Foundation, Venta's first work, went for 0.1 ETH. And what is that, $130? So I think this person, Kyle Lovesu, they got a steal here for this work. This is a very, very nice work, if you ask me. Looks like AI and digital painting, I would guess. This seems like AI. So again, this combination, what we were kind of looking at, we opened with Venta here today. Here's some more Venta. You have no idea how excited I am to get this collection out into the world. I've been trying my hardest to make my AI art unique to my style. So we were looking at Venta's page and said, what happened to the AI? The AI was looking spectacular. Well, she's been working on it. And so anyways, here's the latest, and she's very excited. Again, I think it's a she, very excited to release new work here. Pretty nice work, if you ask me. Again, that soft construction with boiled beans, it kind of reminds me of for some reason. Another work by Santiago here. Look at this. So you can see Santiago seems to be getting into the AI. This is when we sat down and you told your story. So this looks like AI to me, especially considering Santiago's style, which is traditionally abstract. I assume it's his, and it looks like just a work in progress. But isn't it interesting when you get all the experimentation? Again, remember Santiago's super rare piece, the abstraction, where he's taking all these other sources and making abstractions out of it. What happens when you get an artist like that working in AI? So anyways, in this blue and black over here, pretty interesting. Some other AI, Anna Dart, with just an interesting work here. Again, just something you'd maybe never do without a machine. I assume, yeah, this is made with AI. AI art. And I thought this was an interesting take, and seems to be similar to those two portraits that were done at the start in AI, that were done, because this looks like I almost recognize this face as an Ingres. So this looks like an Ingres painting that's probably uploaded, a source image, and then kind of modified with prompts, I'm assuming. Okay, so just pretty interesting. This is Jampolsky M. And let's just see. Right, so this is in a thread. Here are a couple of my oil paintings, soon as NFT. So this is an oil painting. Okay, so I thought this was an AI artwork. That's interesting. Okay, now my first question then is, was AI used as a source for this? Who knows? Very interesting. Again, I thought this was an Ingres. If we look here very quickly, Ingres girl portrait, let's see if we can find, yeah, it looks exactly like Portrait of Mademoiselle Rivière. So I just assumed, and maybe that is how this was constructed. This is an oil painting, and this is what I've been kind of saying about the AI, and we don't know if that's what happened here, but the temptation for me one of the temptations of a billion different things you can do these days is you make a work in AI and then you paint it, right? So interesting. EdgeQ, who did one of the portraits at the beginning, he was the guy who was doing the trading cards, remember? And like the kind of the chill trip hop sort of tunes. He has been experimenting with AI, and look at the resolution he's getting. Like, I don't know if you can see, but this is sharp, like very sharp. So I think he's been experimenting with, like, we can look here quickly. And that's a drum machine by him. Like, he hasn't been experimenting, maybe he's been experimenting for a while. Because again, I picked up this piece, this Keith Haring. These are done with AI, some of these pieces. Like this one here, the Keith Haring. It's probably like basketball in Keith Haring style or something like that. But now he's gotten into this kind of like three-dimensional. And I just think, look at how fast this can happen. And like the resolution is off the charts when you just look at how, like, if I just load this up, like, it's pretty sharp. Okay, so all to say, this is how fast you can get good at AI, and pretty interesting piece too. And he kind of, it looks like a DJ type guy, at his music controls here, or maybe working in the music studio. Signore Giacomo Y. Dilla, the Almighty on the Manichina de Sampler. So it's probably a sampler here. So super interesting. And here's a drum machine, the first drum machine in the world. So a hypothetical first drum machine in the world created by Da Vinci. And so anyways, pretty awesome by EdgeQ here. Super interesting. And you see how fast you can get good at this. I mean, that's not to take away. I mean, he's probably working pretty darn hard. Martin Joe, also working in AI, and these works seem to be going somewhere for me. Like it's pretty interesting. These bears and everything. Pleasure Wasteland, the Kinky Bears sort of series. And so anyways, Martin Joe, edition of 50, available for 1 Tezos only. See, this has a similar kind of feel to Martin Joe's work too. So I assume also AI. New mints from my surreal musical instruments collection, 50% gone. So anyways, and you can see here, at the risk of crashing our mic, we are going to take a look here. And so here are more surreal music instruments. So it kind of went with our drum machine there, our hypothetical drum machine created by Da Vinci. So look at that. So all sorts of interesting things happening in AI here. You can pick them up for 0.777. A new work by What is IANA? And again, combining digital painting with AI. So, and this actually is now being bid on. So What is IANA continues on his roll. So that is super cool. And Trueface, who we started last episode with, GM OGs, can you name this animal? So again, Trueface seems to have some pretty advanced algorithms that may be homegrown here. So pretty interesting kind of result, kind of plants that look like kind of, what's his name? Archimboldo? Kind of reminiscent a little bit. Archimboldo, who many of you will know, who does the fruit that turns into the face and all that sort of thing, right? Archimboldo, kind of just a 16th century, a unique sort of 16th century painter. I mean, it's pretty distant, but you see what I'm saying with the flowers that basically make the animal, right? So interesting work there. And Mr. Shapeless with some nice works to close us off here. If this is raw AI too, like these very soft clouds and beautiful sky, and there's our kind of wanderer figure. It looks like they're facing us this time. Lavender Fields of Venus. And one more, Bliss by Mr. Shapeless. So just another beautiful landscape by Mr. Shapeless. And do we have any more? Here's another one, Crystal Lake. And these things with the reflection of the sun, again, looks like the Arctic, a hypothetical Arctic, and then these shapes over here, reminiscent of Yves Tanguy a little bit, of his late work. And should we just quickly, Yves Tanguy? So I want you to look just right here. See that? All these kind of shapes and everything. Put Yves Tanguy paintings. Yeah. Especially like, let's see if we can get a decent size here. Kind of, reminiscent of these kind of shapes here. Yves Tanguy, I haven't shown the images from the Surrealist exhibition I went to about a month ago. I need to show that to you guys. This is a friend of mine. This is from Instagram, and I didn't put it because he's a friend of mine. This is my friend Ben, who lives in Berlin. I thought this was an outstanding still life. This is pencil and oil on paper. I assume this is pencil here, and oil on paper, a still life. I thought this was gorgeous. So very nice work there. And here are some other ones that he was working on, but this really stood out. And that, my friends, is your show. So thank you for joining me. And until next time, which is tomorrow, take care. We're going to have a Twitter Spaces on Wednesday, same time, same place. Wednesday at 9:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Until next time, take care.